August was a hot one. Now we're talking about a September settlement and the fact that Gary Gensler is now being brought in front of Congress. He's going to be testifying twice in September. And we have another senator, Warren Davidson, calling for Gary Gensler to be fired. So now we're talking, folks. Things are heating up here in the United States. We're waiting for regulation. And in this episode here, I'm going to be breaking down kind of where we're at in the markets, quick update on the overall economy, before I get right on into the crypto updates and the legal battlefield. So critical, and the SEC taking major losses. Just got served up in the Grayscale case. Now we see Uniswap dismissal came out here today. And so I'm going to follow up here and explain what's taking place in these cases. The SEC Chair Gensler going to be testifying in front of Congress. And then the potential for a September settlement to finish the cover up of what has been taking place at the SEC and what we've exposed in the XRP community. Now, before I get on into it, I want to remind everybody, if you're looking to get precious metals, we can help you. It's at my website, linked up down below, and we can get the metals shipped directly to you. Or if you want to roll over the 401k retirement account, we can help you do that as well. So as always, we're not here to be your financial advisor, but if you're looking to make some moves, we can help you get it done. It's at my website down below, and it does support the channel, and I greatly appreciate that. Now, with that being said, we're going to get right on into it, folks. Let's run it up and start off here by looking at the charts real quick. So this is Bitcoin on the monthly, and we are going to be beginning this September candle coming right on up. Basically closing off the month here just above 27,000 for Bitcoin. We did come back down as of late, right? Within the last week, touching back down below 25.5. And now we did pump up to 27,000 yesterday off of the news. And that was a little bit of excitement. Grayscale case, basically their order. They did get a little victory there against the SEC. That's fantastic to see. And the news is pumping back up. And the pressure is mounting against the SEC as they have over half a dozen Bitcoin ETF spot, Bitcoin ETF approvals sitting on their desks waiting for approval, right? So this is going to be big, folks. We're just getting started, and apparently, I got to start off with one point here on the current events here before I get into the United States economy. We got an update on our GDP numbers, and folks, this is not looking good. But why do they need the distraction, right? How do you distract from what is about to be released in the form of an audio tape containing, quote, incontrovertible evidence of Joe Biden's corruption? Now, I think that there's a lot there. There's a lot there, to say the least. And they say that it exists and it will be released to the public in the coming weeks, claims Newsmax host Greg Kelly. So I can't confirm this, right? This is being reported by them. Let's follow up and let's see where this goes. But I'm telling you right now, they're about to be exposing a lot over the course of the next year and a half here in the United States of America. I hope you got your popcorn, because the political theater is going to be going on and ramping up from here forward. And you have to remember that as this corruption gets exposed, what are they going to do to confuse the masses, to mislead the masses, misdirect them, and guide them away from these absolute truth bombs that are getting dropped on a daily basis on the platforms like X, on, little YouTubers like myself that continue to stay over the target, and especially, and I'm going to get to the legal battlefield for the XRP army. The fight that we've been doing and how over the target we have been as a community is something to be proud of, and we are just getting started, folks. So let's get right on into it. Peter Schiff says, if Americans think the economy is bad now, just wait until they see what's coming. Once the dollar cracks, both inflation and interest rates will rise sharply. This will send the economy deeper into recession, causing many people to lose their jobs. That's the real Bidenomics. And as you're seeing with the oil price going back up, Biden failing to fill back up the strategic petroleum reserves, and you're seeing that we had experienced the dollar topped out, I think in, what was that, October, November of last year is when the DXY topped out. We've since rolled over. We've since taken another hit. And just like Peter Schiff says right here, once the dollar cracks and we go even lower, this is going to bring about more inflation, and interest rates will have to rise sharply to address that. And Powell, already seeing the struggle here. And you have to look at what's taking place on Main Street in the real economy. It's being revised back down, just like they announced here today. U.S. economy grew 2.1% in Q2, lower than expected of 2.4%. So a huge miss on expectations. Now we look at this from MarketWatch, this week's major U.S. economic report and Fed speakers. I'm going to show you guys the Case-Shiller home price index read us at 1.2% after the median forecast was at 1.5%. But I wanted to show you guys the pending home sales. I'm going to show you guys an article on that here in a second. But the news that came out here today was that GDP revision, and the expectation was 2.4% right here. Okay. And what actually came in was 2.1% for our GDP. Okay. And last quarter was, the previous quarter was 2.4%. So in Q1, we had 2.4%. In Q2, 2.1%. Okay. Now it's still a positive GDP. I did want to pull up the definition of recession to remind everyone: a period of temporary economic decline during which trade and industrial activity are reduced, generally identified by a fall in GDP in 2 successive quarters. Okay. Well, as I've been saying, as I continue to remind folks, we see that right here in 2022. The first 2 quarters of this year were negative. This is percentage change from preceding quarter, real GDP. And this is from the Bureau of Economic Data, or whatever group this is, BEA. This is from an official website of the United States government. And as you can see, Q1, Q2 of last year were negative. Both, that was a recession, right? By the definition. And now you look at what we've done for a flat line, right? The expectation of 2.4% for Q2 of this year actually came in at 2.1%. So a big miss on GDP. And what's happening with this battle against inflation, right? Not going so well. Jerome Powell speaking in Jackson Hole last Friday, saying that, we basically still have another interest rate hike on the table. And I don't see how they're possibly going to be able to pivot unless they have some other events in the timeline for us that are going to allow for that pivot to come in, which that's kind of what we're expecting over the next year, right? Is for dramatic events, simulations similar to 2020 to come in on another election year. And this will give them the reason or justification, or even if they do it just for politics, right? Just for politics and election year, they have many incentives to get the Fed to pivot once again. But of course, the Fed wants to act like they're a third party. They have no association, and they don't play politics. Sure. And so the real situation, though, right? When you look at the fight against inflation, not going so well. And to continue to raise interest rates is going to continue to squeeze out the U.S. economy. Now, our GDP, we're already missing. We're basically flatlined, 2.1%, not strong. And if you look at our trajectory, right, we are going back down. Q1 of this year was 2.4%, and Q2 was 2.1%. So the trend is not good. The trend is not our friend for the Main Street United States of America. Now, when we look at that U.S. home sales data, and the U.S. home sales actually rose, right? We go back, pending home sales, the expectation was 0.5%. It's actually up to 0.9%. So we beat the expectations. We beat the forecast. In the previous quarter, Q1, was 0.3%. So pending home sales were up, which is normally what we see during a spring-summer selling season, right? This is Q2, which would be April, May, June. And this is what you see. This picture right here. This is Main Street America, another new suburb going in, some more cookie-cutter homes. And this is what is driving the new sales, on top of it being the spring, summer selling season of Q2. But this is the new home builders. These are the guys that are moving these, right? Now, what's interesting to note is that we have over 1 million rental properties that are going to be coming online this year. That's the expectation. And construction is still at an all-time high. Now, they're reporting that there's a shortage of housing, right? But you have to weigh that against, the apartments and the units that are going to be coming online, and folks being forced to take less, right? The United States homeowner, the United States first-time home buyer, or anybody in the real estate market right now is being forced to take less, or they're trapped because the mortgage rates have absolutely killed us. And as I bring it back to my last point, the fight against inflation not going so well, Jerome wants to raise rates once again. We're about to be surpassing 8% for our average mortgage payment here in the United States, right? This is bringing in that next recession, right? This is helping to cover up from the corruption that's being exposed at the very tippy top. And I'm about to get into that with the crypto update as well. Now, I transition on over. This has been the plan all along. Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, working hand in hand. We showed you guys that Christine Lagarde showed up in Jackson Hole, didn't she? Christine Lagarde made sure she made an appearance there in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And she says, I'm really pleased that the attention is now focused on the role that cryptos can play. We have to be a little bit ahead, and I hope we can accelerate that work. Now, she's talking about the role that cryptos can play and how it's a no-brainer that CBDCs are going to be a thing. That in 2021, they started up the trials. Basically, it was a 2-year kind of study testing, and now that's coming to an end, and it's basically a for sure thing. And she's excited to see the determination for the rise of cryptocurrencies and CBDCs, that the attention is now focused on the role that cryptos can play. And we've heard her mention Ripple. We've heard her mention XRP. I won't dare, make any connection there. I won't dare speculate any further than that. But we are going to roll on in here into the crypto update. And as I've been saying, they've played us so well with the narratives, not just in the XRP community. Look at what's happened here in the Bitcoin space. How BlackRock's going to launch their ETF. How BlackRock's going to, move in here with their spot Bitcoin ETF. Now we blame Bitcoin dumping on BlackRock trying to pick up lower. Well, the thing about Wall Street is they've already been in crypto, and we've been showcasing this in the XRP community because we've been exposing the big whales from Wall Street that backed the Ethereum free pass and got their hands all in Ethereum in the token factories that were created on top of Ethereum. Now, when it comes to the Bitcoin miners, of course, BlackRock is a major shareholder in 4 out of the 5 largest Bitcoin mining companies. The Wall Street boys are already here, right? Now, the good news is that we are starting to see the SEC take major losses. And what just happened here is that the judge dismissed a class action suit against Uniswap over token scam loss. So this was in the Southern District of New York, this very important, district court there, Southern District of New York. And they dismissed this class action lawsuit against Uniswap. Now, this was put forth by some folks that lost money due to scam tokens on the decentralized crypto exchange. And I'll give you the long story short right here. Essentially, what she said is that the current laws don't apply to this. This is not under the securities laws. And basically, someone who creates some code cannot be guilty for what a third-party actor does with that code, which is a great, incredible ruling, right? This was the right thing to do to dismiss this lawsuit. Now, are these folks mad? Have these folks been harmed as investors, right? Of course they have. Was the SEC there to protect them? Absolutely not, right? Now, the SEC would say that, well, we need Congress to give us the regulations and the rules, right? Well, no, they're the ones that are bringing these lawsuits forward without the clear rules, without the regulation, and they're trying to force their will regardless. Right. So they can't then stand back and say, oh, Congress needs to give us regulations. They're the ones that are filing new lawsuits every other month. Now, Catherine Hahn, who is on the board of Coinbase, right? And she's been, she's been well involved. We've seen the clips played by digital asset investor Brad Kimes. And basically her connections, the roundtables, the speeches that she's given. She's been watching this thing for a while. She's been speaking at the table for a while. And she says today's decision out of the Southern District in New York highlights the extent to which some in the federal judiciary appreciate the uncharted territory on the applicability of the securities laws to an asset class as broad as crypto. For example, the judge says, quote, recognizes although devs could theoretically register tokens with the SEC Congress and the courts have yet to make a definitive determination as to whether such tokens constitute securities, commodities, or something else. And then expresses concerns about extending liability under securities laws to a situation that does not implicate the federal securities laws, particularly given the current state of cryptocurrency regulation, and suggests that any gap is a question for Congress. The court declines to stretch the federal securities laws and concludes that plaintiffs' concerns are better addressed to Congress. So, SEC, you do not have jurisdiction over this, and you are not protecting the investors in this, in this case. And, at the end of the day, who knows if, they're going to be able to go after the people that created this scam token on Uniswap where these folks lost their money, whatever it was. I mean, this seems to me like it was a BS case, a BS filing. But this once again reiterates the point on where judges in the United States court of law are drawing the line and saying, no, SEC, Chair Gensler, and gang, this is not your jurisdiction. I am not going to extend the court and basically write rules here at the court level when this is better addressed at Congress, when we don't have clarity. We don't have a definitive. Let me go back to the words there. We do not have a definitive determination as to whether such tokens constitute securities, commodities, or something else, right? And I would argue, this goes back once again, right back to that Ripple case, right back to their defense. Right? How could Brad and Chris specifically be acting recklessly when in this case, the court is acknowledging that we don't have a definitive determination on what these things are? Now, where this gets exciting, folks, is that the pressure is being applied. We're finally starting to see it, and Congress is going to be bringing in Gary Gensler twice here in September. So on September 12th, he's going to go to the U.S. Senate Banking Committee. And on September 27th, he's going to go to the House Financial Services Committee. And Dusty BC Crypto says this will be so uncomfortable. This man has been dodging questions all year. Let's see that change. And I agree 100%. No softball. Warren Davidson coming online saying that Gary Gensler should be fired. Let's see that same energy in the testimony here, in the questioning. Let's see that same energy in the halls of Congress, where you're supposed to be representing the American people. And God bless you guys for standing up, for asking for some accountability, but we need to push down, continue applying this pressure because we have the truth and we have the facts on our side. And these guys are corrupt as hell. Let me just interject my opinion real quick and let me ask, and may God help us reveal all truth in a court of law to bring justice to these people. Gary Gensler, we know where he comes from. We know where he has been, right? Terrible chairman of the CFTC. He was the CFO of a little campaign. Dare I remind everyone of that little issue, that little conflict of interest? The CFO of a campaign that was, some argue, well, I better stay quiet, if you know what I'm talking about. This is our guy, Gary Gensler, who's here to protect us, here to sue everyone in the space, and here to shut down innovation across this country. Now it's time to bring him in, and now it's time to get to the bottom. Now it's time to let all truth be revealed, and they're trying to cover it up, and it's not just the SEC. Check this one out, folks. I got a good one right here for you. Department of Justice, and this one's from Michael Branch. Department of Justice files motion to stop Sam Bankman-Fried's witnesses from testifying. Folks, when I tell you, I mean, we all know that they got this little puppet right here, the Bankman-Fried. You already know that they got this guy, and he's already been talking, and he's going to be singing forever, right? And this is just the tip of it. And it shows that they want to cover this up. And I'll tell you why, right? Because you have tens of millions, I think even hundreds of millions of campaign donations that were coming from that money laundering operation over there with FTX, right? To those ill-gotten gains, to the fraud that was committed, right? The crimes that were committed at this exchange expose all the way up to our government and the campaign contributions that were made to politicians on both sides of the aisle. This is where both sides of the aisle are caught in the cover up. And as I continue to say, this is not political. Now, is one side more guilty than the other? We'll see. Let all truth be revealed. Let's see. Let's please let the witness testify. Please, I'd love to see Sam Bankman-Fried's witness testifying. I would love to see what was going on here. And we know why they are trying to silence this. The Department of Justice, in this case, the SEC, Gary Gensler, when he does come to testify, why he dodges and he does all this dancing up in front of Congress. He doesn't actually answer any true questions. And we know what's been happening in this Ripple versus SEC case and the truth that we have on our side when it comes to the facts and circumstances surrounding XRP and Ripple. And this is going so deep, folks. And see, I don't have the red folder on my desk, but this is why we have that red folder. I don't care if folks want to make fun of me. I don't care if folks want to take the conversation to a crazy XRP buyback. Wasn't about a buyback. No, folks, get tapped in. Please come join the adult conversation. We're figuring out how to protect our assets, and we're trying to expose crimes and corruption at the highest levels of our government. So if you want to come join the good guys and gals, God bless you. We got a place for you. This is not a joke. This is not memes. This is not clickbait. This is just a regular American citizen, and I'm speaking on my behalf, who's absolutely sick of what's happened to our country. And we are trying to do things the right way. We want opportunities for the common man and woman to be available. We don't want to see Gary Gensler get the ability to raise the accredited investor accreditation standards up to $10 million of net worth, basically not allowing even folks with just $1 million net worth to participate in private equity and other deals. We want to bring opportunities to people. But what we have here is a government that is trying to protect their own interest. And now, see, these guys, it wasn't enough. These guys were greedy as hell, and they were corrupt as hell. And that's why they're working so desperately to cover this whole case up. And this is why I believe that we are going to see a settlement in the SEC versus Ripple lawsuit. Will it happen in September? I have a funny feeling. I'm seeing some coincidences. It's a full moon tonight. The vibes are crazy. And Brad Garlinghouse and team are telling me that they're going to have a proper party. And in Vegas, Brad told me and others that we weren't going to have the proper party until after we won the lawsuit. So I have a funny feeling. And whether the settlement comes in September or not doesn't really matter, right? If the settlement doesn't come in September and someone wants to roast me because my prediction didn't come true, okay, you can roast me for that. But let's see how this thing plays out. And let's get the update here from John Deaton. He was on a space here with Eleanor Terrett and Charlie Gasparino. God bless him. God bless him. He's another one. I don't even need to say it. We know who his buddies are, right? we know where Gasparino comes from, right? And nonetheless, let's listen in here on John Deaton in regards to Judge Torres denying the appeal. Let's take a listen in.
The last couple minutes, what is your, how far does the SEC get with this interlocutory appeal?
I believe that Judge Torres denies the appeal, and I think she takes the opportunity to address the distinction between what Judge Rakoff said and what she said. That's my prediction, but I don't believe she's going to grant it.
The last couple minutes, what is
How about that, folks? How about that? So John Deaton is expecting that this appeal gets denied. So many people, and this is where the craziness in the XRP community comes in, is there's all this hype, all this speculation, all this FUD, all this nonsense, all this clickbait. They haven't even been granted the appeal yet, and folks who have already been reporting that the case has been appealed. That is not true. Not true at all. And just like John Deaton says, Judge Torres can deny this appeal. She does not have to let this go forward. Okay? So we'll be watching that one closely. That's going to be exciting to see. it all coincides with what I've been talking about here as far as this timeline leading up into September. This is going to be exciting. And this would bring about a scenario where XRP truly breaks away from the rest of the space during a bear market, during a recession, during a liquidity, debt, and currency crisis. And this is that moment that we've been waiting for. Now, whether it happens in September or not doesn't matter. What matters is that we have the truth on our side. And what matters is that we've been right. We were right to not only, ask these questions, but to stay over the target and continue pressing on, because the damages are absolutely massive. If you want a perfect example of how big the damages can be, go look right here at this example. Mark Phillips retweeted this one from Ryan Selkis. The U.S. courts protected investors to the tune of nearly $6 billion from the egregious abuse of the SEC. I mean that literally. The Grayscale suit and court victory helped investors gain back 60% of their Bitcoin exposure that the SEC was content to help steal from them. So what does he mean by that? Well, last year we had Grayscale has this Bitcoin trust, right? And their Bitcoin was trading at a discount of 50% in 2022. Now, we immediately recover 60% of those losses, and now the discount is only at 18%. So basically, Grayscale's Bitcoin is discounted 18% from market price Bitcoin, right? And this happens within just a day after the SEC loses the challenge that they had against Grayscale. So to the tune of nearly $6 billion, that's $6 billion in damages to Grayscale investors, guys. That is proof right there, just within that. Now, that's just part of it. The damages go even further. But Mark Phillips highlights this. He says, is anyone else still butthurt about the financial losses caused by the SEC protecting us by filing a frivolous lawsuit against Ripple, costing $200 million? How about that for damages? $200 million in legal fees, delaying adoption in the US by nearly 3 years, and crashing the price of XRP. And as I've long stated, my prediction, my estimate for what it's worth is I think that the damages are well in excess of $1 trillion. And I say that because if XRP would have been able to experience the last bull run based off of how all of the other cryptos traded, based off of how much liquidity came into the space, I think that you could have seen XRP go to, $7 to $10 with ease. And that alone takes us to a market cap that approaches in the trillions. And that doesn't include Ripple's $200 million in legal fees. That doesn't include all the additional, damages to businesses, people that were invested in XRP, trying to use XRP. So I think that the damages are well in excess of $1 trillion when it comes to the XRP community. Now, are we going to be taking an action against our government? I just want a level playing field. Please, just let's settle up this case. Ripple might have some investment contract offerings that constitute a securities offering, that constitute an investment contract that meets the 4 prongs of the Howey test, and you got them. Let them cut you the check and let us move on with an understanding that XRP is in fact not a security. Do we want to call it a commodity? Do we want to call it a virtual currency? To me, it is a currency. It is a commodity. And it is in and of itself, as a matter of law, not a security, as proven by Judge Torres, right? As put out in law by Judge Torres. And we're once again confirming that by the fact that the SEC didn't try to appeal that part. They're only trying to go after the programmatic sales, and they're only trying to go after the couple sales there by individuals. They got the slight victory on those institutional sales. So with that being said, once again, folks, let me know what you think about a settlement in September, and let me know what you guys think about Gary Gensler potentially getting fired. This is truly incredible. We've had some real excitement in the past week. watching the SEC lose. It's an absolute joy, but the battle is not over, so let's continue up the fight, and you can help me out by smashing that thumbs up, making sure we subscribe, hit that notification bell, and if you're looking to get tapped in, just head on over to my website, zachrector.com. I appreciate all of you guys. God bless, and we'll see you tomorrow.